Hey, welcome to my YouTube channel, Cruising Out of Sight. Today we're going to talk about part 3 in my roulette strategy series. We've had actually 3 parts already, but I called one of them 2B. It was kind of a sub part of the series. In series 1, or in part 1 of the series, we talked about the strategy, the structures behind it, what the goal was there. In part 2, we really dived into the math. We took a look at a bunch of different tables and graphs that explain the math behind the strategy. In part 2B, I rolled out a roulette simulator that you can run your own simulations on Excel based off of a bunch of different parameters that you can change. And then here in part 3, we're really going to talk about the payoff. What kind of perks can I expect for the money that statistically I should be losing using these strategies, or any strategy or lack of a strategy for that matter. So this is really where the meat on the bone is. Let's talk about what the payoff is. If I'm going to lose $10, I think I should get probably $20 or $30 worth of value out of that from the casino, from the cruise line, to get me back into their casinos playing again. So let's dive right into it and we'll take a look at the payoff.
All right, so let's tie it all together here. So last video, part 2B, if you haven't watched that, please take a look at that first. It is there's a link to it down in the description below. But in part 2B, we talked about the roulette simulator tool that I built in Excel and shared on my Google Drive. And we took that and ran simulations and then compared it back against the math that we talked about in part 2. Again, please watch that if you haven't watched that previously, to make sure that the math made sense and that the simulation would basically prove out that a average scenario would result in what we talked about. So these are the results from the simulator. So what I did is I ran a scenario. I ran the conservative with a bankroll around $2,200 to $2,600, and then ran a simulation on conservative with a bankroll of about $8,000, and then continued that through the moderate structures as well and through the aggressive structures as well. So here we can bounce it off of the math and say, hey, does this make any sense? So here we have the first result from the first simulation, which is a conservative structure, which will go 15 spins in a row. It'll allow you to miss 15 spins in a row before you have your big loss. And we got to put about $2,400 at risk to run this simulation. So the strategy I employed is I ran the simulation 10 times. I deleted the worst simulation and I deleted the best simulation out of those 10, which left us with 8 simulations. And then I took an average along the bottom there. So the things we looked at was on that simulation, what is the end spin? Where did we have our big loss, if any? And then the next column there is the end bank. How much money did I end up with? Because obviously if we have our big loss, we're gonna have made money on our way to that big loss. So that's the average of how much we would have lost in that simulation. The next one is the total dollar value. So this is how many dollars and bets we put out total before that big loss happened. The next column is average dollars per spin. So this is just our total wagers divided by how many spins deep we went. And the next column is dollars lost per value. And I just realized that that should be opposite. That should be value divided by dollars lost. Anyhow, that's just the total amount that was wagered divided by what our end bankroll was. Going down and to the left, we're gonna calculate from that play hours. That's just how many spins divided by 45. I'm just assuming we're gonna get in about 45 spins every hour. You won't hit that on a busy table, and you'll surpass that on a table where you're playing by yourself. But that's probably a good average there. Next one is bet points. So I just took a look at how much I bet average per spin and then divided that by 7.5. From my experience, that's about how many points you get for every dollar you put out on the table. For every $7.5 you put out on the table, you should expect to get a point if the pit boss is paying attention and watching your bet sizes. The next one is value points. This is very, very similar to the bet points. Here I'm just taking a look at my total wagers, and I'm dividing it by $7.5. So this is how many you should get based off of your total wagers if you're getting $7.5 per point. And then the last one is points per dollars lost. So here I've just taken an average of those 2 point expectations and I've divided it by what your end bankroll is. So let's take a look at each one of those 6 sets of 10 simulations each. The first one we'll look at is the conservative structure. So this first slide here just shows you the raw data, the 10 spins. And then the next slide shows the best simulation and the worst simulation removed, leaving us with 8 simulations and the averages from those. So here I simulated on the conservative structure. Hey, if I didn't want to start with the full bankroll, I'd need to get to the maximum amount of spins that would get me to table max. What if I just started with a smaller bankroll? So here we grabbed a bankroll that we needed to get us 15 spins deep in the structure before we lost. The odds tables would tell us that we should expect to go 296 spins deep using this structure with this amount of bankroll. And what we found is that the simulation brought us to 690 spins. So quite a few more spins than the odds tables would tell us. What you can see from the numbers, they're jumping all over the place, right? So you'll get lucky sometimes and go really, really deep as per number of spins. Sometimes you get really unlucky and you'll lose super early. We had an average loss of $1,200. We bet a total value of $11,000, almost $500. Our average bet per spin was $19. And our dollars lost per value is 23. On this simulation, if we had averaged 45 spins an hour, we would have been able to play for 15.3 hours. We would have expected to get somewhere in the range of 1,600 points for the casino, playing this many spins, this average bet per spin, and we would have expected to get 1.4 points for every dollar we lost. That right there is an important number to keep in mind. Let's focus on that. So on slots, you expect to get a point for every $5 that are wagered. Slots will generally take about 20% of your money over the long term. So that calculates to you earning a point for every dollar lost. That's a very well-known number. I'm a member of various different groups that talk about Royal Caribbean Casino points earned, and that's a widely accepted number that you'll expect to earn about a point for every dollar you lose in the casino on slot machines. So this is showing that you should expect to get more points off of a roulette table game using this strategy than you would off of slots. And we'll see that continue. 600 points to me is a really good target for Royal Caribbean Casino play as well. If you can get 1,600 points on a Royal Caribbean cruise, you'll get a fairly decent cruise certificate. Might be for an ocean view room, most likely an interior. I personally don't care about the rooms a whole lot, what category. So this is a certificate that I would be shooting for, is somewhere in the 1,200 to 1,600 point value. Sometimes you get those certificates at 1,400 points. It might get you a little bit of free play as well, but I personally don't like to get a whole lot more points. I think it's just a waste of risk, I guess, and I prefer to get one of the lower certificates. I prefer to just continue cruising. I don't really care what category of stateroom I get. The next simulation we're going to take a look at is conservative structure again, but here we're just going to play until we hit the table max. So here you see the 10 sets of simulation data. On the next slide, you see we've removed the best and the worst from that, leaving us with the 8 sets of data. So on average here, we have gone 3,088 spins deep. That's really, really deep. Our statistical average for this structure, 18 spins deep is how far we can go, is 925 spins. So that was a very favorable outcome on this simulation. But that being said, our end bank was negative $2,900. So it cost us quite a bit. But we played forever. I mean, 3,088 spins should take us 69 hours at 45 spins an hour. I know I don't play that much on the cruise unless it was perhaps a month long and there was not very good entertainment on the ship. We would have expected to earn about 9,000 points. I don't even know what kind of certificate you'd get for 9,000 points. And it would have cost us, for every dollar we lost, we would have earned 3 points. I think what this is telling us is that this is a structure and a table max approach that we would use if we just wanted to plot along. We wanted to play a lot, not put a ton at risk per spin, average that is, and we wanted to spread this across multiple cruises. I don't know how many people are cruising for 30 plus days in a row, but not me. So for me, 69 hours, given maybe 2 hours a night, that's 35 days worth of play. So this is like 5 week-long cruises for me in a row. So over the course of 5 cruises, am I willing to lose a little over $2,000? Yeah, probably, if I get, good casino comps on each of those, if I get a free offer at the end of each one of those 5 cruises. This looks like a promising strategy. So the next one we're looking at is a moderate structure. Here we're going to put a little less than $2,400 at risk total. This will allow us to go 14 spins deep without a hit. Here you can see the 10 sets of data. On the next slide, we removed again the best and the worst, leaving us the 8 sets of data. This simulation averaged 402 spins. That's about double what we would have expected statistically. We would have expected 202 spins total. Our end bank is we lost almost $1,400 total across those 402 spins. This amount of play would have taken us about 9 hours and would have netted us around 1,400 points and netted us just around 1 point for every dollar we lost. So not great as compared to slots. We're going to use slots as the benchmark. Here's the next set of simulations. Here we're staying with the moderate structure, but here we're betting all the way up to the table max, which should net us an ability to miss 17 spins in a row. So here you can see the raw data from all 10. Next slide, we removed the best and the worst again, leaving us with an average of 980 spins, which is very, very close to what our expected number of spins should be, which is 925. So very, very close to what the math tells us it should be. That number of spins should have taken us about 22 hours to get to, and should have netted us right around 5,000 points-ish. Actually, a little less, sorry, 4,800 points-ish. I actually used this structure and played for about that amount of time, 22 hours, and did earn 4,000 on a cruise on Harmony of the Seas this past March. And I got a very, very healthy certificate for a free cruise out of that play. So I can personally vouch for this structure, that amount of play, earning this many points. I was very diligent, though, to keep following up with the pit boss to make sure that they were ranking me at the correct dollars per spin ranking. It's very, very important, because some pit bosses, I've personally seen this myself, if they're not really paying a lot of attention, they may be ranking you at the table minimum. So it's very, very important when you're using a strategy like this where your bet is jumping all around to make sure that they're rating you properly. Next, we'll take a look at the aggressive structure. The bankroll just under $2,400, which should get us about 12 spins deep. So this is a very, very aggressive betting structure, which would net you $17.50 per spin win. So this is very tempting because you get so much money per win, but you just can't play enough spins. So the expected number of spins here is only going to be 64. You can only go 12 spins deep, so that's not great. So here you can see the raw data. Again, we removed the best and the worst. We ended up netting 321 spins. So the simulation was very, very generous here, but that'll happen. I mean, this is only 10 simulations. Maybe to get a more accurate picture, we should do 50 or even 100 simulations. I'm left wondering what that data would look like if I did that. I may actually do that in the future. So this amount of play would have netted us 7 hours of play. We would have ended up losing, well, this simulation again was very generous, only $600. So because we were going so deep and the bet is so aggressive, you're offsetting your losses pretty quickly here. So you don't have to go very deep before you make more than that big loss will take away from you. So as far as points go, we didn't play for very long. We only played for 7 hours, but we should have gotten right around 1,800 points for that play. Again, you should get a very, very nice cruise certificate for 1,800 points, and the points per dollar loss is right at 3. So that's really good. 3 times what you get off of a slot machine. And then the last one we'll look at is the aggressive structure going up to table max, which will get us 15 spins deep. So you can see the raw data. Again, we removed the best and the worst. The math told us we should expect to go about 296 spins deep. We actually, in the simulation, averaged 572 spins deep, so we got a little lucky on these and went fairly deep. The playtime for that would have been right around 13 hours and would have netted us around 4,800 points for, let's see, how much did we lose there? $4,600 we lost. So pretty close to $1 loss for every point earned. We only played for 13 hours though, so that'd be like 2 hours a night. That's about what I usually do in the casino. So you can see points per dollar loss is right at 1. So let's take a look at a summary of all 6 of those simulations. So here I just pulled the data from each of those tables together into one single table. So you can see 2 conservative simulations, 2 moderates, and 2 aggressives, bouncing between around that $2,600 bankroll to a approximate $8,000 bankroll, depending on which structure we're talking about. You can see how many hours we played in the next column. The next column is the simulated loss overall. So once we hit that big loss, subtract out how much we won from that, how much money would we expect to lose at the end of the simulation. And then the next one is expected points. So how many points did we get out of each one of those simulations? And then we took a look at how many points we should have expected in those simulations to earn per dollar we lost. So you can see a high of 3 points per dollar lost and a low of 0.9. Average around 1.5. So still better average than the slot machines, which are only getting you about a point for every dollar lost. So I think here kind of boils down to personal choice. My favorite out of these is the moderate with about a $2,600 bankroll, which is going to net me, according to these simulations, 1.2 points per dollar lost, which is quite a bit more conservative than what I've experienced. I've been on 17 cruises and have lost around $4,000 using kind of a mix of that conservative $2,600 structure and the moderate $2,600 structure. I think I've gotten a little lucky. I think I definitely should have lost more than 4,000 across those 17 cruises that I earned. But that'll happen, right? Long term, you're going to get closer and closer and closer to the math. Short term, though, you're going to have lucky streaks and you're going to have bad streaks, and they should even each other out as you go longer and longer. But it's possible that you could be lucky and be on the better side of things, short term especially. But when I say personal choice, what I mean is, what is your risk tolerance? Like, what kind of bankroll are you looking to go in with? How many hours do you like to play per day, and how long is your cruise? Or would you like to pick one of these strategies and play it across multiple cruises like we would see if we played for 69 hours total, unless we were playing for like $10 a day, or 10 hours a day, on a week-long cruise. So That comes down to personal choice. I highly recommend you use that roulette simulator that we talked about in part 2B of these series to run your own simulations. Put in what your own risk tolerance is. Take a look at the results, see the ebbs and flows of that strategy at work. How many points do you want to earn on an average cruise? Are you shooting for a balcony or a suite even? Do you want to earn more points? Maybe you're better served by the aggressive structures that'll earn you more points per spin, more points per hour. So that's where the personal choice comes down to. So hopefully this helped, kind of bouncing a real world experience off of not only the math, but also off of a simulation of that math. The next part I want to talk about is what should you expect for those points that you've earned, and I think this will kind of bring it all together. So all along I've alluded to, and I've mentioned it a couple times but haven't expressly come out and said it, all of this has been centered around Royal Caribbean's casino loyalty program. So the points earned per hour, what kind of perks you'll get from those points, it's all based off of Royal Caribbean. I have to imagine that all of the casinos, both cruise and land casinos, have perks that are very, very similar, but I can't say the perks earned at a certain point amount are similar at all. But I gotta imagine for a certain amount of play that the perks you receive for that play will be very, very similar. I mean, they're all competing against each other. I do have one piece of anecdotal evidence that I played on a Grand Princess cruise, a very short period of time, but I did lose a substantial amount, and I earned a free cruise certificate from that play, valued at around $2,000 or so. I received a cruise certificate that was worth more than $2,000 off of that single cruise on Grand Princess from Princess Cruise Lines. So what can I expect to get for a certain amount of points from the Casino Perks program? Again, we're talking about Royal Caribbean specifically here, so those will be the slides that we're going to show and the numbers we're going to use. Generally, Royal Caribbean will give you a free cruise certificate on board if you make at least 1,200 points. Every once in a while, they will run a special where they will give them out at 800 points. This, of course, will be a fairly simple offer. It'll be an interior room or an ocean view if you're really lucky, and the sailings will be somewhat limited. In general, if you get 1,200 points, that again will be their base one, fairly limited number of options to pick from. But then if you get 1,400, you'll get an even longer list. If you get 1,600, you'll get a longer list plus maybe some free play as well. Don't take me to word on these numbers, but this is just a general idea. And then as you work up through the points, you'll get better and better offers. Eventually you'll end up getting balcony offers. Sometimes the offers are actually a mix of maybe ocean views and balconies. Balconies on the older ships, ocean views on the newer ships maybe. And then eventually you'll get enough points where they'll start offering you suites and thousands of dollars in free play. The most I ever got was I got a 4,000 point offer, and I picked Harmony of the Seas, so a fairly new and their largest class of ship, and I got $500 in free play with that as well. So if you just think about the free play alone, you're gonna get a good chunk to offset any losses you've had previously. So on the next cruise that you book with that offer, you can start using that free play to start your structure. So you could take all these numbers we've shown in our simulations and take $500 off the amount of bankroll that you would need right off the bat. So that's a great kickstart to any cruise, is some free play action. Just a note on the free play, you do not earn points on those though. So as far as rolling it into your next cruise offer on your next cruise, that doesn't count at all. You actually don't start accumulating any points until all of your free play chips are gone off of the table. So you'll get a reward based off of your play on the ship. You'll also be automatically enrolled in the Club Royale program, which is Royal Caribbean's Casino Perks program. you have the ability to go online and check for cruise offers. So I get a cruise offer about every week or so, maybe up to once every 2 weeks. But then I also get an annual offer, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But I can expect to get anywhere in the vicinity of 40 to 50 cruise offers in a year if I keep going on their free cruises, I keep playing in the casino, I keep earning those certificates. I'll not only get the free cruise offers via the certificates, but I'll also get the free offers through their website. They do say that they will send you offers through the mail and or email them to you, but they've been very, very spotty doing that to me. I might only get one mailing for every 4 or 5 cruise offers that I get through the website, so I wouldn't trust on that. I log into their website once a week just to check. You can see this is my snapshot from their website today. I've got 4 current offers out there pending me picking a cruise, deciding what ship I'm going to go on. You don't have to take the offers, obviously. These are just offers that are available to pick from. So I mentioned the free annual cruise. So as you're accumulating points, you're working towards the first level in their rewards program, which is called Prime. Prime is awarded at 2,500 points and entitles you to a free annual cruise, as well as, this is the other big perk in the program, is free drinks in the casino while the casino is open. This is a fantastic perk. Not only the free cruise offer, but the free drinks. It goes a long way towards helping you make the decision on whether or not to buy their deluxe beverage package. Their deluxe package in the US is running about $70 a night plus 18% gratuities. So on a 7-night cruise, you're going to save yourself $500 plus if you decide not to get the drink package because the free drinks in the casino are enough for you. As you work your way up the loyalty programs with Royal Caribbean, the non-casino loyalty programs, you'll also start earning free drinks at Diamond status. You'll get 4 free drinks a day. So I no longer have to buy the drink package. As I get the 5, I'm actually up to Diamond Plus now, so I get 5 free drinks a day plus unlimited free drinks in the casino while it's open. So I'll use the 5 when the casino is closed, like on a port day. But as soon as you leave port, they open the casino up. So then I've got plenty of opportunity to grab free drinks in the casino. That's a great perk. Going back to that free annual cruise offer, for Prime level at 2,500 points, you get 1 free interior every year. And that's not based off of a list that they give you. They actually give you a list of exclusions, and that list isn't very long. So you can pick generally any cruise as long as it's 7 days or less in the entire world. So you're not even limited to the cruises that they offer you on the certificates, which are usually Caribbean cruises for the most part. They may pepper in an Alaska here and there. It all depends on how many points you get, but they're generally Caribbean cruises. So the annual offer allows you to pick cruises all around the world, any time of the year. It doesn't have to be limited to what they give you on the certificates. As you work your way up through the program at 25,000 points, you'll get signature status, which has additional benefits. The biggest one being free Wi-Fi on your cruises, which is a pretty good value too. That's around $25 a night for Wi-Fi if you buy it, so that's not a bad perk. And then the next level above that is Masters, and that has additional rewards available. You can see the matrix that's here on the screen. If you can't see that, you can easily just search Club Royale perks on Google and you'll find this list. Just a note, that perks program goes from April 30th to the next April 30th. So those 2,500 points that you need to earn Prime, once they're earned in that April to April time frame, are good for whenever you make them until the following April, but then also from that April to the next April. So say you made Prime right away in May 1st, let's say, after that April 30th deadline reset the points for the previous year, you would actually have those Prime benefits for 2 full years after that. They wouldn't run out till April 30th of the year after the year that you earned them. So that's a great benefit as well. Let's do some quick math based off my experience. I first made Prime in May of 2021. And then at that time I was playing generally the conservative structure with about a $1,500 bankroll. So I was very limited in how many spins I could go in a row before I hit my bankroll running out. But then after I made Prime and I started playing more and I started cruising more because I was getting the free casino offers, I started mixing in the moderate structure as well with a bankroll of around $1,500 to, let's say, $2,250 or so. So I was able to play a few more spins. I started to really refine my strategy a lot. I started to get a good feel for how the points were rolling in versus how many hours a day I was playing in the casino. And it gave me a much better idea of how the program worked, especially as related to how much money I was putting on the table versus how many points I was earning. So I earned my very first free cruise in May of 2021. Since then, I have sailed on 17 free cruise offers, and I've had free drinks ever since. So doing the math, I haven't kept perfect track of this, so I want to say it's around $4,000, but let's just say I'm way off and it was $6,000 I've lost since then. So you got $6,000 divided by the 17 free cruises, and then add in the value of those 17 free cruises, free drinks, and let's discount it. Let's say not the $70 a night that I would have been paying for the deluxe beverage package. Let's cut that in half. Let's say it's $35. Let's say I'm going to go buy a few drinks cash to make up the rest of that $70. So I won't do the full amount. I'll do $35 a night. Those 17 cruises I've taken have been primarily 7-night cruises. I have taken a few 5 nights, and I've actually peppered in some 9 and 10 nights as well. So let's just assume that each one of those cruises is worth, we'll be super conservative here, let's say $1,600. The average is probably closer to $2,000, but again, I'll discount it just for math's sake. So that's a total of $27,000 in cruise value. That's 17 cruises at $1,600 a piece, plus $35 a day on each of those cruises for drinks. 17 cruises times 5 days average each, times $35 a night is another approximately $3,000 in value. So we add those together, we've got $30,000 in value, and on the high side, I'm saying I lost $6,000 over that course of time. Some cruises I came away with money. There's several cruises I came away with $1,000 or $2,000 more than I went, and then there's some cruises that I came back from and I was down $2,000. That happens more often than when I come back with profit, but it does happen, especially since I'm playing for the long term. I'm going to expect over the long term to lose. For short term, I may come home from a cruise with some money. So that tells me that I've gained $5 in value for every dollar I've lost at the tables. Given those wild assumptions, I obviously padded those numbers to be on the safe side. But I think that's a great value. I mean, $5 back for every dollar I spend, I would do that any day. Obviously, that value increases as you cruise more. I mean, if you were to gain Prime on a cruise or two, but only cruised once or twice a year, obviously your value proposition is going to decrease. But even if you were getting one-to-one value, if you were going to cruise anyhow, wouldn't you want to do a little bit of gambling basically for free during that time? I definitely would. The calculation obviously completely changes if you can only cruise once a year and can only, you'd have to gamble to make that Prime status. But then if you couldn't take advantage of those free drinks on additional cruises and couldn't take advantage of the free offers that you get, well, then the calculation obviously flips away on the other side, and now you're just paying to play at the casino. So hopefully that was valuable to everyone that made their way through this entire series. I know it was a lot of numbers, but I definitely wanted to take the time to explain how this works in detail, provide some data to show that I'm not completely out there. You know, the data supports this, and then the simulation also supports this. So I've gotten some comments that I'm not on the right track, that Martingale's a losing strategy, blah, blah, blah. And I think through all of this, I've proved that I can get more value playing the Martingale strategy than the money I put in. So hopefully that was valuable to everybody. Big disclaimer here, run that simulator. It'll show you every once in a while you'll lose after 30 spins. You'll lose that big amount. So it won't be offset by any winnings you've had during that 30 spins. So just want to throw that out there. Obviously, run the simulator. You'll also see that if you're expected to lose at 200 spins, you may go 600 spins without losing using that structure. So just a disclaimer, luck is luck, right? You may get unlucky, you may get lucky. Over the long term though, all those things should even out and you should get closer and closer to what the math says it should be.
So hopefully that explanation kind of brought it all together. My whole goal here was to prove that for every dollar I spend in the casino, having fun, talking to people, getting the adrenaline up a little bit, I should receive multiple dollars back in value, whether that be from free drinks, free cruises, stateroom upgrades, free bottles of wine, free Wi-Fi, all kinds of different perks you can get, especially from the cruise casinos. I don't know that these perks are as good on the land-based casinos, but they should be at least a little comparable. I know like Royal Caribbean is joined up with MGM. Those perks that you get from those two should be fairly similar, but I don't have a ton of experience there, so I can't really talk to it. But hopefully that kind of, like I say, brought it all together and helped prove my point that this strategy is useful in getting more value from the casino than you actually put in. I may come up with additional ideas in this series, kind of have maybe a part 3B, 3C. I've got some ideas swimming around in my head, but love to hear your comments about that. Is there more you want to hear about? Are there topics within this topic that I didn't really expound on enough that aren't completely clear? Are there strategies that you use to try to maximize your points while minimizing your risk? Would love to hear those. If you could slap a like on this, I'd really, really appreciate it. I'm finally getting up there in the likes. I'm getting some fruit from this effort I'm putting into this YouTube channel. If you could also slap a subscribe on there, I'd really appreciate that as well. I plan to bring a lot of cruise content, different voyages I go on, excursions I'm doing, ports of call I'm going to. So definitely appreciate that subscribe. It lets me know that you appreciate my content and are looking for more of the same. Hope you enjoyed. We'll talk to you next time.